What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Insightful Living, the podcast dedicated to helping you live spiritually, mentally, and emotionally fit lives. I'm Leslie Haskin, your host. On today's episode, I'm speaking with mental health advocate and wellness coach, Andrianne Adams. Andrianne shares the inspiring true story of her daughter Maddie's daily fight with mental illness and spiritual torment. And in what could have easily been a debilitating diagnosis, we see a mom's unwavering love and unconditional faith to hold her daughter up. We see the strength of a young girl willing to fight the good fight for her own quality of life. Together, these two are a force to be reckoned with. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. So let's get started. So how have you been?
Been doing well. I am working hard and taking care of family even harder and praying even harder than that.
And your husband, how's Anthony?
He's doing well. He's doing good. He is at the church all the time, working.
Is he pastoring?
He is.
Wow.
We're at First Church here in Huntsville, First Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Huntsville, and he's one of the pastors there. So yeah, he's busy doing church operations and ministering, and of course, just our own ministry that we're doing daily with mentorships and things like that.
Uh-huh. Are they going to listen to this podcast? Are you going to share it with the church?
You know what? I probably will, because my husband, in his infinite wisdom, shares everything anyway with them.
It is infinite wisdom.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. And what about Maddie? Are you going to share it with her or?
Yeah, I will. Erica, Maddie's doing well. She's becoming more comfortable with my sharing her story. She chooses who she talks to, and she has this process. She'll start asking about a person, and then she'll ask again, and then she'll say, well, you think they'll want to talk soon? And, I'll just kind of tell her, sure. I've tried to get her to talk to people who I've suggested her talk to. And she's like, nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm okay. They'll find whatever. But she's becoming okay with not being okay, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Of course it does. I know you reached out a while and said, was it okay for her to call me? But she never did. So whenever she feels like she wants to, my number is not going to change.
Okay.
And so,
yeah.
So,
but that speaks volume to who you are, though, because she's not very trusting. One thing about Erica, the condition that she has, she was already very sensitive as far as like a spiritual realm, so to speak, is concerned. And so what this particular thing has done, yes, there's a clinical side to it, but on a spiritual level, Erica has a level of discernment that a lot of grown people don't have in their connection with Christ. And she's still working on that relationship that she has with him. But she's so sensitive to things of God and to people. And so for her to even open up to you, to have a conversation with you, even in her asking about you. I know that I told you that she had been asking, and she and I had a conversation about you a couple of days ago when we spoke. And she said, "Oh, how is she?" And she said, "Mommy, I don't think you ever sent me her number." And I said, "Yes, I did." I sent it to her, and she said, "Okay, I got it. So I'm going to reach out now." So okay, we'll see. But that says volume to the person that you are. Because Erica does not trust people. She's very careful about who she shares with, because she's very cognizant of, people who don't have her best interest at heart most of the time.
I loved that girl the minute I met her, because I loved her mom the minute I met her. The jury's out on that,
Right.
I'm just kidding. It is. Why in the world am I calling that girl Maddie? And that's her nickname, right?
Yeah, that's what we call her. And I say Erica. It's funny because I call her by her first name when she's in trouble. But for, and then and then when she's around her friends, she's like, "Mommy, please don't call me Maddie." And I'm like, "Nope, that's who you are. That's who you're gonna be until you get in trouble." And then it's Erica, Madeline, Elizabeth, and she's like, "Oh my God, Mom, no!"
Erica Madeline. I like that name, Madeline. I think is a beautiful name.
Thank
So
you.
you were just talking about her story, and do you mind if we talk a little bit deeper into it?
Absolutely.
When you say part of it is spiritual and part of it you're dealing with it through therapy and medication, what exactly is going on with
Sure.
Maddie?
Absolutely. Okay, so several years ago, my daughter began sleeping in the living room of our home. Well, let me go back. So we were on our way to school one day, and every morning I kind of had the same routine. Erica and I prayed with each other. And this particular morning, I had taken her hand, and the Holy Spirit just said, "Move your hand up." And initially, I'm thinking, "Okay, Lord, I'm trying to drive. How I'm supposed to raise my hand while I'm driving?" And it's like, "No, move your hand up her arm." And I did. And immediately I pulled over and I began to sob with her right beside me because she had been cutting.
Well,
Um, and it absolutely broke my heart. And you got to think, I mentor girls everywhere for the same reason. And I had no idea that my own daughter was doing it. And so init- initially, I was heartbroken. And the first thing that I said was, "Lord, what did I do wrong?" And it's funny, God said the same thing about my prayer with my daughter that he said about me with my marriage. And that was, this is not about you. It has nothing to do with you, what you're doing, what you're not doing. This is about her. And so, first of all, my prayer had to shift for God to do something within me that was going to kind of draw whatever was going on with her out. And so we began to talk, and I began to pray. And she told me, she said, "Mommy, it's a distraction for me to not to have to deal with the stuff that's going on with my head." I said, "Well, baby, you got to tell Mommy what's going on with you. You got to talk to me." And she said, I'm just going through some stuff, Mom. I'm just going through." And so I noticed around the same time she started sleeping in the living room. I didn't think anything of it. And after she started sleeping in the living room, she was literally afraid to go into her own bedroom. And
mm,
so I started asking her, "Baby, why are you sleeping?" And she says, "Mommy, I'm just comfortable. I just want to be in here. I'm just comfortable." Okay. Um, I took her to the doctor, and I took her to the doctor and a psychiatrist because I started noticing the sleeping. She was sleeping all the time. When she wasn't sleeping, sometimes she would be very snappy. She went from being snappy to being extremely clingy. And there
mm.
was no happy medium. I'm like, "Okay, God, what's going on?" And then sometimes she would just kind of crawl up in the bed next to me and she would say, "Mommy, can you just pray?" I'm like, "Okay, let's do it." And when I took her to the doctor and the doctor spoke with her, she calls my husband and I into the room. And she said, "Ms. Adams, have you noticed, and she listed all these things." I said, "Sure, I've noticed all these things." And she said, "Well, your daughter has traits of someone who has schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, and ADHD.
Wait, huh?
All of those things." I sat there in the chair. My husband and
Girl,
I kind
I need to wait.
of, mm-hmm.
I'm ignorant. How do you diagnose all of that? I mean, how can it be all of that?
I didn't have time to. I didn't have time to think about it. But how do you diagnose that? They went through, and she told me everything, all her process, and that's what I wanted to know. I was like, "Oh, 5? What are you talking about? What do you mean? How does she have this? What's going on?" And so she went through all of Matt's symptoms and everything that she told her, and then they did, a workup, and then they did all these tests, and baby girl tested for all of it.
Mm.
It wasn't until about 3 weeks later that I didn't talk. I didn't talk for 3 weeks. These next couple of weeks were really about trying to regulate medication and I was in the shower about 3 weeks later. I just cried. I'm like, God, how am I supposed to protect my baby from something that I can't even see or hear?
Mm.
I can't. It broke everything in me as a mother.
Girl. Mm.
Everything.
Don't rush past that. I want to get back to the story, but I just want to stay right there for a minute, because it's that part right there that I think will resonate.
Yeah, yeah.
It broke everything in you as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Can we go there a little bit deeper? Can you describe it? Can you put a picture around it? Can you say it in a way that moms who have been trying to articulate what they're feeling can maybe put some words behind what they've been feeling?
Yeah, yeah. Everything in me as a mother was broken by nature. You know, we always hear that guys are supposed to protect. I think my baby is my little cub, right? And I'm the
Mm.
lion, and my job is to protect her, to keep her safe. When somebody hurts her, mom's there. You know, I started off as a single mother for the first 5 years, and so I was protecting her. You know, we look at our children and we're like, okay, Lord, you've given me, and especially someone who knows Christ, right? Your mind, God is giving you all these tools, and He's equipped you to be able to see what your child sees. So you see traffic coming, you can yell out to them and say, "No, no, no, baby, don't walk across the street." You can
Mm.
kind of put your hand out, and you can keep the car back. You've dated long enough to where you know the type of guy that your daughter's bringing home is a knucklehead, and he's going to treat her. Or he's going, he got his pants sagging around his knees almost, and he got all these things going on, and you can say, "No, baby, I need you not to go that route. I've been there. Let me tell you why." But then here comes this thing. Here comes these diagnoses. Here comes this person in the middle of the night talking to your daughter, telling her to hurt herself, telling her that she's not good enough, telling her that she has to potentially take herself out, telling her
Mm.
that the walls around her are screaming, literally in the tub seeing things sitting in the tub with her, to where she gets out and turns the lights off and just stands there in the dark.
Oh, Jesus.
When I tell you that, as a mother,
Mm.
you cannot begin to fathom the helplessness and the hopelessness that sets in. And of all the scriptures in the Bible, of all the prayers that I had, of everything that I had, the thing that I was telling my daughter was the thing that I had to try to go to and believe. And that was in 2 Timothy. I think it's in chapter 1 and verse 7. And it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear,
Mm-hmm.
but of power and of love and of a sound mind." There. And I'm like, God, where is the sound mind? Because right now she has so many things in there. And God is like, no, but what did I say? I said that I've not come to give you the spirit of fear, but I've come to give you power, love, and a sound mind. So if I said it, if I spoke it, guess what? It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I need you as her mother to walk in the authority that, yes, I have given you
Amen.
the strength of power. I've given you power. I've given you love, and I've given you a sound mind
Amen.
to walk in it. And I began to walk in that thing because
She said, I
there
began to walk in that thing. Go ahead
I
on, girl.
had I had to, as a mother, I didn't have a choice. I had to say to my daughter, and not even sometimes, real talk, I didn't even talk to her. I started talking to the things that was in her head. Understand, I know that there's some clinical stuff going on. So there was some medication that she had to take. But those things that I could readily identify as spiritual, absolutely not. You will not keep my daughter up tonight.
There we go.
Lord, I rebuke everything that's in
There
you,
we go.
power of the Holy Spirit. And I just started speaking. I started telling that thing, this is what you're not going to do. This is my child that God has gifted me.
There we go.
You will not harm her. Absolutely
Girl,
not.
I got chills right now. Chills right now.
I had to just if I could encourage you to do a thing, oftentimes I mentor girls, and even my own child, before I realized what was going on with her, we look at everything as behavioral. Oh, she's just acting out. Oh, he's just acting out. He just don't know what he's doing. And he's following the crowd, and she's doing this and she's doing that. Sometimes it's not that.
Yeah.
Sometimes this thing is spiritual and sometimes it's clinical.
Yeah.
And we want to pray.
The
Go ahead.
word tells us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and rules of the darkness. So we know that our battle is spiritual. And you're right. There's a shift in the atmosphere of spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
And I think part of that shift has us focusing more on the clinical aspects that we're hearing rather than the spiritual aspects. And so then when we approach God, we're approaching him with passive prayers. The enemy has ramped up, and we, in essence, are almost ramping down.
It's like Brother was saying yesterday, we're going into the throne room of an almighty God, and we're passively, Lord, if it be your will, Lord, if this, because we're afraid that God lied to us and he really doesn't answer prayer, and he really didn't give us a sound mind, and this isn't going to happen. We're afraid to pray those same prayers that our forefathers prayed, that kind of pounded the fist and said, right now, Lord, do it now, And somewhere along the line, I agree with you. I think we lost that fervor in our prayers, and our children are dying.
Leslie, I was sharing with you that my baby, we were sitting in the parking lot of church one day, and I looked in the rearview mirror and I saw her staring over at something. I was like, what is she doing? And then I saw the tears start to come, and I said, okay, God, here we go. All right, Lord, let's do it. Okay. let's go to battle. Let's fight.
Let's do this.
I got out of the car and I walked over to her. She was on the back seat, and I got my forehead and I put my forehead next to her, right up under hers, right next to hers. And I said, Erica, I said, baby, what's going on? What do you hear? She said, Mommy, it's just so loud. It's just so loud, Mama. I said, baby, what is it? What's loud? She said, the color green. I can hear it, and it's screaming at me, Mommy. I just can't take it. I just don't know what to do. And I said, okay. I said, I said, I'll tell you what, color green, we're not doing this today. Because she's going to be able to go in church and she's going to listen. I said, Erica, what has God given you? And she said, Mommy, I just can't. I said, yes, you can. You tell me what God has given you. And she said, he's given me a spirit of power. I said, what else did he give you? And she said, love. And I said, okay, he gave you another thing. What did he give you? She said, a sound mind. I said, now say it again. And she said it again. I said, now you tell Green what God is giving you. And she says it. And I said, Erica, tell Green again. And you tell him until you believe it. I said, come on, we're going to tell him together. Green, get back, get behind me, and get behind her. Jesus. We're not doing it. Jesus. And so we continued to speak to whatever it was that she was saying until Green had stopped yelling. And until Green was gone, whatever Green looked like. And I said, okay, God, I get it. I won't ignore these things anymore. And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes when Erica is acting in a way, and what I'm learning now is to decipher what's the condition and what's behavioral, because I recognize when her attitude is something that is coming definitely from her condition, and something that is every bit of an 18-year-old who feels like she knows everything. And she wants to let me know that she knows, and that her almost 40-year-old mama knows nothing and has lived no life. And, and I'm like, girl, you have no idea what you're talking about right now. Mom, please, they don't do it like that anymore. I'm like, okay, you know what? Ma'am, I need you to calm all the way down. But one thing about my baby, she doesn't mind apologizing. When Erica has hurt me, and even when I know that it's a condition, she can say something or act in a way to where I have to go and close up in my room and I will just cry. And I've never been a crier. I'm not the emotional one. I never have been. This has taught me to share my emotions with my daughter. She had expressed to me how difficult it was to share certain things with me, because she said, Mommy, I know what you used to do, but you're like God's favorite now. So how am I supposed to come to you and tell you
You're
all these
God's
different things?
favorite. What does
That's
that
what she
mean? You're
calls
God's
me.
favorite.
Listen, her and my son, they say, Mommy, you're God's favorite. Nobody's gonna bother you. And I'm like, girl, bye. First of all,
God's favorite. You're
I
God's
need you.
favorite. What is that? I'm gonna need you to do better. What does that mean, girl?
She tells me that
Are
me
you
being
walking around
God.
like Holy Ghost Junior? Is that what it is?
Yo, I'm trying not to hurt your feelings, child. Don't think that I'm God's favorite, because I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Hurt your
Because I'm having
feelings.
to go. Look, I'm having to go back and repent for my thoughts. That's what you don't know.
I'm not
But
God's favorite. That person is, because he just saved
listen,
them from me. Yeah, I hear
right?
you, girl.
I'm having to tell her so. But
You're God's favorite.
I'm
So
telling
what do
you.
you think is
The reason we're losing so many people to suicide these days, why do you think they're giving up on life?
Mm, oh, you know what? My daughter, when we were initially going through everything, the initial diagnosis and figuring out everything, we were coming home from work. My daughter had already gotten home, had been talking to her all day. And she called me and she texted her dad and she said, Daddy, thank you so much for being a great dad. Thank you, Mommy, for being a great mom. I just love you so much and I appreciate everything you do. My husband just kind of like, oh, that's so sweet. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Mm-mm. Look at the tone of her text message. This is a goodbye text message.
Mm.
And we called her. Leslie, in the phone, I heard screaming and a wailing that caused my blood to just, I just turned white. And I said, God,
Mm.
get me home right now. So my husband and I, we were probably 15 minutes away from the house. We got there at like 5. We walked in the door and he just picked her up. She was just screaming, just crying. She said, Mommy, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, Lord, keep my baby right now. And I began to just pray. I looked in the room where she was, and there was a letter that was balled up. And this goes to kind of answer your question. In the letter that she had written, and it was a suicide note that she had written out, she said that she didn't know how to talk about the things that she had going on without feeling like she may disappoint us. She also said that she was so confused about what she wanted to do in life and how she was going to be able to do it because of everything that she had going on. She talked about not having real friends. And these are just some of the things that she mentioned in her letter. When I talk to other children, when I talk to other teenagers, and these are teenagers who have had similar things going on with them, who have attempted suicide, who talk about it even now. And one of the things that they say is that the inability to communicate with their parents. They feel like they're alone.
Mm.
And one thing that I continue to speak into Erica and to remind her of is that, baby, you have options. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning and you done got drunk or you been out smoking and you in trouble. You call me because I'm coming.
Say it.
And the thing is that we expect a level of grace and mercy from God that we're not willing to offer to our children.
Yeah.
Not saying that you allow them to wild out and you allow them, but
Mm-hmm.
we want understanding from God. We want grace. We
Yeah.
want mercy. We want
Yeah.
other people to look at us and understand that, I'm having a bad day. I had a bad moment, and for it to be okay.
Yeah.
But then there are our children. There's our children, and we're like, no, absolutely not. Oh, I wish you would come to me talking about you gay. Oh, I wish you would come to me
Yeah.
talking about that you gonna do this. You going where with who? You had sex. What, have you lost your mind?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
did you forget where you came from?
Yeah. I
And
think that I
yeah,
agree with you. I think the worst thing that we ever did was listen to the lies of whoever started this big, a whole lie, not a half a lie, a whole lie about tough love.
Yeah.
Messed us all the way up. And
All
you had parents kicking their kids out of the house and telling them, if you continue to use drugs, this is what's going to happen, and you can't use,
right.
if you're going to do it, you're going to you that's not love, that's not grace. And
Yeah.
look where it's gotten us. We're in a graceless age. You
We're
don't
doing
behave the way I want you to behave, you're out of here. You
Yep.
know, we don't give kids a chance to, and grown-ups too. We're not giving each other a chance to make mistakes and know that they have a safe landing, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
How do we combat that?
First of all, I think that trying to understand where they are. One thing about certain conditions is that a lot of them didn't just pop up, right? So one of the things that I had to come to terms with was that my daughter had to have gotten this from somewhere. Not saying like a cold or the flu or something like that, but the therapist started to ask me questions.
Yeah,
Well,
it's hereditary, right?
yeah, exactly. Do you remember this is I'm like, absolutely. And Leslie, I can remember hearing and seeing things. I remember being severely depressed. I remember having such a level of anxiety that I sit by a wall so that nobody else can sit by me. And I would go to, say, a bar or a club. I've probably been to a club twice in my life. I've been to a bar a few more, but the ones that I've gone to, I had to drink so much to where I would forget that people were around me because I was terrified of people touching me, being near me. I didn't want it. I lay up at night now and stare up at the ceiling at 4 o'clock in the morning because I cannot rest. I can't. And so I can identify with what my daughter has going on. And I think a lot of us as parents, if we could just remember, kind of like, with the thing with the grace and mercy, if we can remember where we were, pull that out from our memory bank, because a lot of stuff we blocked out, I have blocked out so that I don't have to deal with it, right? And so that I don't have to process it anymore. But I had to pull those things so that I could speak into my child's life. I had to seek out other people who I knew, number one, on the spiritual side, would pray for her. I had to be patient, and God would be like, okay, you want to be patient, I'm gonna give you something to be patient about. I was like, no, Lord, wait.
Can you just infuse me with it?
Right. Let me just go get on a drip real quick. Right.
Yeah, right. Can you do me a favor? Don't teach me patience. Just infuse me with it.
I'm like, wait, Lord, I don't want it no more. And so then, and in conjunction with that, I was like, okay, Lord, something different. Here I go. I need strength to endure. That's what I need from you. I need the strength to endure the inevitable, because the thing is, while I knew baby girl had stuff going on, knew that, she was going to have to, because Erica now, I have to fight with her to take her medicine. She don't want to take it because she has other people in her ear now that she's not at home. She's in college. And so she's doing well in her, in school and everything. But she has other people in her ear saying, well, if you just pray. And I'm like, surely you don't need that medication. And I'm like, baby, absolutely not. And I've had to go to her professors and tell them, look, I don't know whose child you used to dealing with, but let me tell you what you're not going to do. And I'm like, her without medication means that she comes into your classroom and she's going to hold her ears and she's going to start screaming, because she's going to start hearing things and seeing things that are terrifying her. And you coming over to her praying for those things to stop will not work. And these are, and we know what's, let me go and put it out there. These are, one of them in particular said to me, oh, my son does the same thing. Sometimes he walks out in the middle of the night in the street with no clothes on. He almost got hit the other night, but girl, I just don't think he needs to be on no medication. Ma'am.
So what does she think?
Right. Oh, we're just going to continue to pray. We're just going to keep praying. Okay. Going back to your question, an understanding for what your child is going through. Seek to understand. Research the diagnoses so that you can pinpoint when your child tells you, Mom, Dad, I got a headache. And this is what kind of headache it feels like. Oh, it's pounding. So when Erica tells me, for example, when I know that she's about to have a bad day, she will wake up and she'll say to me, Mommy, I don't feel right. Okay, well, baby, what's going on with you? She said, my body is just tingling. But can you tell me what hurts? What hurts? It just hurts all over. And so that's when I know that she's about to have a bad day. And so I'll say to her, okay, well, can you tell me what that feels like? Like, I know you'd say that you don't know what hurts, but can you pinpoint one part of your body that, maybe feels different than the other? And so when she can't verbalize what that is, then I know, okay, that she either hasn't taken her medicine or she's about to have a bad day. And when I can identify when she's about to have a bad day, then I know that I'm going to have to exercise a little bit of extra grace. I'm going to have to be patient with her. And sometimes I have to come out of my own comfort zone. And I literally, my daughter slept in my office from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. last week. And I knew that she was about to have a bad day for the same reason, but she came in and she came near me, and she's 18, almost 19 years old. And she came in and she laid on my shoulder, and she told me that, Mommy, I just don't feel right. I said, okay. I said, it's fine. We're not going to worry about it. I have certain aromatherapy that I use. Lavender and eucalyptus relaxes the mind and relaxes the body. I use that, and sometimes I turn on like spa type music, very calming music. And then 9 times, my daughter has a playlist of just me singing to her on that playlist.
Wow. Andrianne, I have to commend you. You sound like an amazing, strong woman, and that God has really given you the strength and the wisdom to support Maddie in every way, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. And I'm sure that parents who are listening to this, who are still in that struggle and looking for ways to support their children, are getting a lot of information and encouragement from listening to you today. But if you wouldn't mind, can we just switch gears for a minute? I want you to talk to the parents or family members who've lost the battle and feel like maybe they're blaming themselves because they didn't provide the support that child or that loved one needed, or maybe they didn't see it coming and thought, what could I have done differently?
First things first, it's not your fault. This is not on you. It's not something that you just didn't do. Some things, like I said earlier, are of a clinical nature. There are parents who I have spoken to who have put their children in therapy. There are parents who I've spoken to who have taken their child to church and had hands laid on them, and they went home and they committed suicide. Parents till this day don't know what to do. And because I know that the set of parents that I'm about to tell you about wouldn't mind me sharing, I'm going to share this with you. My daughter, I kind of told you about her suicide note and everything that she had going on. Around actually, it was the same week, I got a phone call from a parent to say, Andrianne, I need you to get to the hospital. Okay, what's going on? We have a student who committed suicide. I said, Jesus Christ, I'm on my way. I'm thinking when I get there that the student's body is, the parents have been, the coroners come, the child's at the funeral home, parents are leaving. Absolutely not. I get there, Leslie, and the mom is in the room. We're surrounding this baby's body. The rope is the print is still around his neck. Erica is there. And the child is dead. Gone, and she is screaming to the top of her lungs, begging God to resurrect her child. I see that baby now when I close my eyes sometimes. And the one thing that I could tell the parent, and the one thing that we talk about even now, is your son's life saved mine. How so? Because after that night, she has not attempted another suicide. She saw the hurt that it caused. But the next day at school, there were so many children who said to themselves, I can't ignore another new person, because that's what had happened. The baby felt ignored.
That loneliness
That
again.
loneliness. Felt like he didn't have anybody. And that's what he told, okay. Oh, he told his parents, hear me, he told his parents that he was going to commit suicide. They left him at home by himself because they didn't believe him. He told them that he was going to do it because he mentioned it before and didn't do it. Oh, he's just talking. Oh, he's just looking for attention. If they're still here, please listen to your babies. They're not lying to you. And when they say things like that, they're not just looking for attention. Something in them is hurting. There's a void somewhere. Listen to them. If you've lost that battle, if your babies are gone, speak into the lives of other people.
Yeah.
Allow your baby's death to be in vain. That boy's death saved my daughter's life. And I'm sure other students, because all of them, a lot of them, they deal with so much.
I'm playing back in my head, Andrianne, what you said to parents that they should not allow the death of their child or their loved one to be in vain. I have to tell you, that's a really difficult concept, but you're right. One life or one death really does impact the lives of so many others.
One of my favorite Christmas movies is It's a Wonderful Life. And George Bailey realizes the same thing, that his life impacts so many others.
But Andrian, even if somebody is able to say, yeah, acknowledge that there is one life impacts another, I can't imagine that there is any pain greater than losing a child to suicide. How in the world does a mom or a dad find purpose in that?
I get that emptiness, that hopelessness that comes along with having to bury your child having, taking their own life. But let me tell you, your children's lives, their death was not in vain. Share their story. If they left a note, share it. Tell somebody so they can tell somebody, so they can tell somebody. The only solace, because it's gonna hurt. I mean, it's going to hurt. The oh God, mine is still here, and I have, my heart aches so much seeing her suffer with the things that she's suffering with. But I'd rather see her suffer than not see her at all.
Everything you've said so far has been so impactful, and I believe that God is going to use Maddie's story, your story, to help a lot of people, because
the types of losses that we're experiencing right now are unprecedented.
We have young, beautiful women jumping out of windows, and men. Regina King's son, I don't know that woman personally, but my heart broke for her right after his birthday, 26 years old.
These babies, as you call them, are broken, and we need to do something to help make them whole.
Andrianne, if you don't mind just singing a verse or a chorus of something that Maddie likes to hear you sing.
Absolutely.
And we will close with that.
Absolutely. This is a song that my one of them, but this is probably her favorite. That kind of brings her peace and that allows her to rest when she is restless, and me as well. And it just simply goes, "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, and just to rest upon his promise, and just to know thus said the Lord." And then the chorus just says, "Jesus, Jesus, oh how I trust him, how I proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh for grace to trust him more." Just trust him. Just trust him. He's got you, and he's got your babies too. Just trust him.